So I grew up, I will use this word, in a very toxic environment. Not familiar, not in the sense of community, but in the sense of structure. And I was one of the people who propelled that toxicity. I grew up believing in statements like, clean your house like the white man. If you went to a black man's house and it was clean and everything was in its place, you'll say, oh wow, your house is so clean like the white man. And so we used to associate whiteness with everything that was beautiful, amazing, gorgeous, and blackness with anything that was dark, bad, evil. And it still happened today in Kenya. And so I grew up with those ideas of whiteness being where you need to reach, whatever form of whiteness it is. We didn't care that they were Norwegian or they were not Americans or they were Europeans. As long as they were white, then they represented these certain characteristics in our mind. They are powerful, they are rich, they don't have problems at their homes, they're doing great, they can help you. But I still didn't think of myself as black at that point, because I was in a culture that told me, you are a Kikuyu, you are a Kenyan, you were born of this family, your forefathers went there, they fought this war. So my identification was really premised on my tribe, on my ethnicity, not on my racial characteristic. I also know that we had other toxic ideas that we peddled as facts. For example, there's a story we used to be told, and I used to tell that story too, that a white man, an Asian man, and a black man went to see God. It's very toxic. So forgive me for sharing this, but I think it's important to share it. And the story goes that God asked the white man, what do you want me to give you? And the white man looks at God and says, I want brains. I want to rule the universe. I want to do all the beautiful things. And God says, you've asked it, you got it. And then an Asian man came and asked God. God asked him, what do you want? And the Asian man said, oh, you know what? I want you to give me money and business and thrive and do all this. And God said, of course you got it. And then a black man turned up and God asked the black man, okay, so what do you want? And the story goes that the black man told God, nothing. I was just bringing these two. Obviously, in the story, we miss Latinos, we miss Hispanic, we miss all the other groups that our society had not had contact with. We only tell the stories of the people we had had contact with, and what we perceived is our relationship to them. So we are educated, or we share stories that shows our inferiority when we were very young. But still, I didn't think of myself in terms of blackness. And the third and the final story that happened in my country was this idea that we used to think, if you find a white person, the path to success is guaranteed. And so a lot of children who went to work for Asian men or white people will come back and say, oh, they got some little money, they were paid. And they will say, oh my God, it's better to work for a white man. He's fair. And my black people are not fair. And everybody will say like, hey, if I got it, I'm just going to work myself for a white man. And so I grew up thinking that I should find myself a white man. Until when I was a teenager, and all of a sudden I didn't want to find a white man. I wanted to work as hard as I could and be my own white man. But I still didn't think of myself as a black man. It was until I came to the United States when I applied to have my residency visa that the question was popped up on me. How do you identify? I remember that. Because for a minute, I was like, wait, am I black or African American? I don't know. And they're like, you're black, Moses. You're black. What kind of stupid question you ask? I said, okay, I'm black. And I've been black since then. Right? I've been black for 11 years. Because before that, I never thought of myself as a black man. I thought of myself as Kikuyu. If you ask me who are you, I'll say, I'm Mwangi, from this sub-clan, from this clan, from this village, of this father and mother, of this family, from this background. Blackness was not part of me. And blackness became part of me as a result of coming to the US. And now, in many places, I identify as a black person. I try as much as possible to talk about my Kenya roots so that I don't lose that, because I feel like black doesn't tell my whole story. My black story is not the same like my friend who is African American, and he can trace his roots all the way from slavery. It's totally different stories. And we shouldn't mix them because of convenience. We should actually let it be as wide as it can for the tapestry. So that's how I recognized that I was a black man.